Well, good morning, everybody. Nearly had the wrong opening screen. You nearly opened up to look at me. Look at me, look at me. You still have enough of me anytime. So it's the 22nd of September. And it was so dark this morning, I thought, did I miss daylight saving or something? It was completely overcast and dark. I got up about 7 o'clock or something and I was like, what? Anyway, but they got the minis away. The Class 650 Mini Transat is on its way. If you want to follow some of that, look up LSTV. Ada's doing quite a bit of stuff on that. Following the start, she had pictures up in bits and pieces. So, but it was interesting. There were quite a few people out there. They had it was raining in the morning, of course, and then the weather cleared and it looked pretty spectacular. They looked like a bunch of mini Amokas. All the graphics on the sails, quite something. So anyway, and they had a bit of a front coming through, but they went around, put them around a waypoint, so they've probably all got kites set and they're going to roar down across the Bay of Biscay and around Finisterre, and they're on their way. So that will be a quick ride for them. I'm going to go through a bit more weather explanation, just focusing on the stretch of water from Durban to Cape Town. But this time I realised yesterday I was showing you screen grabs of the weather, but I'm actually going to put the Windy website up there, which is here. So it'll be sort of real-time live. That's what's happening there, and that's the weather at the moment. I just want to show you how it works and how it transitions. How it transitions right at Durban. That's where the big turnaround comes. The northerlies are at Durban, and then the cold fronts and the systems that come through running up the coast there. It's where the headwinds from the southwest collide with the northerlies. It always just happens there. So I'll give you a bit of an explanation of that, just because that's the key focus, and talk a bit more about that as we go. Anyway, we've got more boats underway, which is good, and we've got the reports coming in from the entrance, which is even better, because now we're getting news from them that I can read to you, and we'll have a bit of fun. So it'll be a quick one because there's not a lot of boats out there and they're moving so. All right, put you onto the tracker. So you're on the tracker. Now I'm on the tracker, and go from there. So here we go. Christian's underway. I forget who's next now. After Christian, it might be, is it Ayrton? No. Yeah, it might be Ayrton and Josh and Jasmine. So Jasmine might be next, I think. Anyway, Christian's out there doing 5.8 knots. So he's done 90 nautical miles. So he's been out there nearly a day, nearly 24 hours. Jacob done 113 nautical miles, doing 5.2 knots. He's okay as well. Adam stretching out in front there, 5.2 knots and 129 mile day. And then you have to, just to clarify again, you have to imagine between the bow of Adam and the stern of Pila, there's an extra 2 days sailing there. So at the moment, Adam is actually only 136 miles behind Pila, doing quite well, but you add another 240 miles or something onto that, and that's where it'd really be. So probably about 350 miles behind Pila, but we grouped them together a bit. So that's cool. Pila currently doing 5.6 knots, 127 mile day, and Kerry pulled away a bit, 138 nautical mile day, and doing 5.7 knots. So he's stretched it out a bit there. Dan doing 136 mile day and 5.9 knots. Renault 6 knots doing 137. So Kerry actually pulled a little bit out on that, only 1 nautical mile. So closed the gap by 1 mile to Renault. And let's see what the distance breaks are. We're running a tab on that. So we'll start off with Renault being right on the bow, and Dan was 48 miles. He's now 53. He's dropped back a bit, I think. That's fair enough to say that's the close there. I could make it a bit bigger. So we'll log him down at... that's not right. Let's move the fraction. So get it on there. So that's on the bow of Renault, and then on course, I think that's probably close enough there. 51 miles. So Dan has lost a couple of miles there. And then Kerry, I'm going to average this down a bit here. I'll put that down about there, and I'd say Kerry's about there, near enough, 105 miles. So Kerry's 105, he's lost a little bit as well. And Peeler is around about there, 213. So he's lost a little bit as well. Maybe it's my measuring. Anyway, they're all pretty much holding the same. So that's fair enough. Let's have a look at the 2-day weather now, see what's going to happen if I extend this back here. You can see there's a bit of a gradient there. It's softened down south a bit with Kerry, but maybe the sea state's better for him, so he's getting a little bit extra or a bit more current. We'll see in a minute. And still a bit of wind over the island. So let's see if this is working. Yes, it is every 3 hours. So the wind is puffing yellow at the back, but softening off a little bit at the front. Softening a bit, a little bit inconsistent, so patchy. So there could be a few little changes up the front. So there we go. That's in the next couple of days, but generally really good sailing. Very pleasant sailing there, and there's going to be some breeze in the next 3 days right up the front there. And currents, where's the currents? Here we go. Nothing. Big hole there for everyone else in 2 days. Right now, a little bit of a current for the guys leaving the island, but the others are just sailing through and they'll catch up a bit. So not a big difference with the current there anywhere. Clouds, pretty sunny. Looks really nice. Sea state. Now we're all saying it's dropped off a bit, but it still looks pretty big there. If we come back to the big picture, it's pretty much across the board. So that's like a 3-metre sea, but Renault sent a photo back as well, which was showing it to be reasonably pleasant. So maybe that's not quite correct. Anyway, excuse me. That's about it. Mark's still plodding along back there, doing 3.7, heading towards Cocos. They'll all be gone. And that's really about it. So we can come back here, and I'll read you the reports here. Okay, we'll start off with Renault. For whatever reason, Renault has decided to send it to me in French, but here's my interpretation of the French. Hello, 4th day since... you haven't got me. Here we go. Now you got me, so you ready for a read? These are the reports. Hello, 4th day since heading to Iceland. Ooh, jeepers, I'm not sure why Iceland. I think he means Rodriguez. Today, the weather conditions are much better, 15 knots of breeze, beautiful sea, and it's reasonably smooth. It changes because the first days it was pretty tough. The rhythm of the sea is there, but he's settling into it. He's got the big sails up, and he's trying to keep moving as best he can. And it was tough, the departure from the island. It's time to rest, to drive the interior of Capuchinet, and he's not sure. Well, he's got to be heading to Rodriguez. I'm not sure why he's confused about that. Well, as I said, I don't know anyone anymore who get there when I get there. He's probably complaining about the fact that the tail enders might not have to go there. So that's my reading of the French. But anyway, or when they'll see each other, but that's part of the course. You know, we're juggling, and the main reason for the juggle is that we want to try and have them grouped by the time they get to Durban, for sure, rather than have lots of stragglers and everyone around. I'd rather see them go as a bit of a group, so that means the leaders will be definitely held over in Durban, or we may group them up in Mauritius as well, because that's where it's going. So I'll have a look at those issues when we see what's happening on this leg. So at the moment, they're sailing to Rodriguez, which is where Renault wanted to go. It was his suggestion, and it's a good idea. So the leaders will go into Rodriguez, and maybe Adam, and maybe the others. Maybe someone gets a short stop there, I'm not sure. But we may use Mauritius to catch them up, because you've got all the services there that they can have a nice time in Rodriguez, in Mauritius. So it may be we do it in Mauritius, so everyone might have to go to Rodriguez. We'll see. That's an option. We keep all options are open on the table for safety reasons right now. Okay, we've got another one here from Josh. from Josh. Been enjoying the stopover in Cocos Keeling. Took a water taxi to West Island on Thursday and got some foodstuffs. They had a pretty good selection and it wasn't outrageously expensive. Went to Home Island on Friday, did the laundry, got a couple of more food items. Then we did a snorkeling tour and saw some cool reefs. Well, that could be coral reefs, but cool reefs and a shipwreck, and went to a beach where sea turtles make their nests. Saw one turtle, but it was swimming. It did poke its head up for a look at us, which was cool. The beach had so much trash, it was one of the worst I've ever seen. It's kind of interesting, because I've been out in the Pacific for so long. When you do get to places like that, around New Guinea and even the Philippines and stuff, it's a natural trap. All the stuff gets caught and it comes down and it gets washed up in these on the windward side of islands and stuff like that. And it's probably better to have it break down there than in the ocean, because it does turn into microplastics and things like that. And what do you do with it? If you pick it all up, you could try and bury it, but that's not so good. And in the end, it's probably better to burn it. But then it puts the stuff up in the ocean, in the sky, and so on. So it's a bit of a problem. Okay, so they're the only two that I've got. One is from Reno and one is from Josh. Kerry we read yesterday, I think. I go and find yourself. Yeah, so that's it. So we just got two today. So that's cool. Before I get into it, I'm going to switch you over now and just try and explain this situation with the thingo. So you're on the windy site. I'm on the windy site. Now you should be seeing my cursor here, right? So this is right now, okay? First of all, if you get onto windy, I'll walk you around it. It's a fantastic site to get on. At the bottom here, you've got three different types of computer analysis, right? Because there's pressure sensors floating around in the ocean, and all these little towns along the coast are giving weather information towards the main computer program, the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, and then they come up with some raw data, and then there's different people have a computer program to come up with different forecasts. I always tend to use the ECMWF, which is the bottom right-hand corner here. This is what the GFS looks like. It's a little bit different, but similar. And this is what the icon looks like. It's very similar, but sometimes they're completely different. So here you can see Durban is up the top up here. So there's Durban. This is Port Elizabeth going around the side, going around the corner towards Cape Town, which is over here. So when the boats do finally get to Durban, they're going to have to go this stretch of the ocean here, which is the hardest, because that's where the Gullis Current is and so on. And when these systems come through, for whatever reason, Durban seems to be the borderline. When it gets up to this latitude, these classic at the moment, this is real-time weather now, you've got these northerlies coming there, and you've got this sort of sou'wester coming around, and it's blowing up to 40 knots in there. And this is forecast wind, not gusts, right? This is the forecast wind. So there's a 40-knot sou'wester going up the coast, so they wouldn't leave at that point. If I go over to gusts, you can see here gusts change. So at the moment it's gusting up to 62 knots along the coast from Durban, and it's all going northerly. But there, up the top up here, you've got 40 knots coming down from the north. So imagine what the sea state is like in here. So I won't dwell on that, but if we roll this through, I'll go back to the big picture. It's a bit like the track. Oh, I'll go the other way. A bit like the tracker. Here you can do different things. There's the weather coming up from the south and so on. So that's the next day. And you say, if you were sitting in Durban now waiting to go, what would you do? Well, you wouldn't go yet. There's not much wind there. And you go the next day and you say, well, it's still a southerly, so I'm not moving, right? You go the next day and you think, oh, okay, but there's a bit of a break coming. So it's still not time to leave yet, but let's have a look on the 26th. No wind. So at least you've got rid of the big headwinds, but there's still no wind, so you don't want to leave that day. So then you come next, oh, look at that, we're out of here, bang, rightio. So you take off because you've now got these really good northerlies, and you want to try and East London, Port Elizabeth, you could anchor in, you could get into these ports about 300 miles, 250 miles. So that's the next day. So you set off, and then sort of bang, it's lightening off a bit. That's okay. And then bingo, you still got sailing conditions, but it's things. So you get a couple of days, and then it changes again. So then you sort of wait, okay, you've got another bit to go around. This is getting a bit boring, but I just want to show you how quickly it can change. So there's some good following breezes. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, where you get a lull in between the two. I think I'm still on Gus. Am I on Gus? Must be. Yeah, that was a bit hard. Okay, so that was the extreme gust rather than the real wind. And then all of a sudden, a day later, bang, you've got these south westerlies again, so you can't go anywhere. Still got southwest, can't go anywhere. Then you've got northerly. You think, right, let's go. Boom, you cross there, and anything can happen. All of a sudden, within 24 hours, you've got the sou'wester again. So you couldn't move on that, and you'll have good forecasting and see how the system just forms up from nowhere. So this is the wind. There's 70 knots just off here, just before you get to Durban, and it came from nowhere in 24 hours. See that? Bang. So even the guys coming down here, they must be coming from the east. They don't want to be high. They've got to come from the east or lower, because when it does go bad, it's blowing up this way, trying to beat you out. But that wouldn't have been a good time to arrive there. And this is the next day. It's gone again. It's turned. It's blown out into this system here. It's a low pressure system that's formed, and then you've got a big stretch. So they're the challenges. Once again, I think I just wanted to focus on that and show you how some of it's coming together. But we're still, hang on, I'm trying to get back to me now. We're still 2 months away from being on that part of the coast. It's September, October. So we've got September, we've got October and November. They'll be doing that during November. And what will happen is the southwesterlies should decrease generally in strength. Right? We're not in winter. It's transitioning. It's summer. It's autumn. The weather's softening off and getting ready for summer. So December is the best month to be going around there. November is okay to go around. So it'll all soften off, but it'll be doing the same sort of things with the wind direction, right? So that's the challenge, to find the holes, work the way around. It'll be very interesting to watch. It's perfectly achievable. Now, I had one of the entrants talk to me after watching yesterday about the whole weather thing, and there's a holy shit, I hope we don't have a disaster with the fleet. And I want to read you what I sent to that entrant, just to explain what's going on with this whole challenge going forward, because it's better to know about it beforehand, not for the entrants, but for you, the followers. Okay, and I just said, look, no disasters. What I'm trying to do is make everyone realise that the game changes, right? So especially once they're in Mauritius and they're heading around, the game changes. The objective is very simple. There's going to be no changes to the notice of race, no changes to the notice of race, nor the sailing instructions. It's still a race. It's on, right? But the mindset of every entrant must change. Okay, there is no reason to push forward if it's always about seamanship first and safety, keeping the boat and the skipper safe, and being focused on arriving in Cape Town sensibly and in one piece, so there's no pressure. So that the entrants have to take their own time, right? They can't push it, all right, for the sake of the race. The race does not come before good seamanship, and I'll give you a simple example of that. I've had some entrants complaining that Cocos was a bad spot. They shouldn't have been there. It's too dangerous getting in, all this sort of stuff, right? And it's absolute rubbish. Any entrant that says that to me, they don't understand, right? And I've mentioned this before when boats were coming out of Mauritius. Seamanship and sensible sailing is up to the skipper, okay? If someone does something reckless and they end up in trouble, then it's got nothing to do with the race, right? The race has got a set of rules, but the final decisions is up to the entrants, right? And they've got to make their choices based on what they want to do. Now, the 580s are very safe little boats in any ocean, in any sea, right? They can survive. The skippers are well experienced in what to do. And so when they're facing these potentially serious weather challenges going forward, right, they have to make the decisions on what to do. And the safest thing to do, if they're really in the poo, is run with it. Now, they might want to go this way, but the weather hits them from that way. They got to turn around 180 degrees, go that way, run warps, whatever, do whatever they want, just like John Guswell did, just like other small boat sailors. The boats don't have the displacement and the power to push into weather, but they have more than enough ability to stay safe. So that's the way it works. It's the race has rules and a course and a challenge and this, that, and the other. But how the skippers face the challenge and what they do with themselves on the boats when they're facing this kind of weather is entirely up to them. And I have absolute faith in in the ability of every one of them. So, but it's really good to be able to talk about it now and say, look, this is going to be serious, and there's going to be challenges, and it's more than likely things will happen. But it's all about the individual and how they approach their own voyage at every situation. They make safe decisions based on, being a good seaman, not just charging ahead and racing. And because they can't get to where they want to go because the weather goes and they've got to go back this way for a week or whatever it is, it could blow their whole race. That's yacht racing, That's how it works. Anyway, all kind of fun, and we're all looking forward to it. Okay, so I've got a couple of g'days here, and then we can get off. G'day, Adrian. Hey, why is the boat called a 580 when it's 570 on the plans? Because when you put all of the bits on, it works out at about 580, and it's just something that Yanis and I came up with. We said, "What is it?" And Yanis was deciding it's 580, and me too. So we said 580. So it might be 570 on the plans, but I can guarantee you, by the time you measure it up, the stem head fitting and the gudgeons and all that sort of stuff, it's a bit more than that. So that's the plan, and it could have been part of the, because we did it so they fit exactly into a 20-foot container, and they're actually not quite 20 feet; they're actually in from that. So we came up with 580. That's I don't know. That's how it happened. G'day, Isla. Ilsa, I think that's how we pronounce that one. Toby, g'day, Toby Gunner. How far is it from Durban to Port Elizabeth? Can they make it in one day? No, they can't make it. I think generally, I'll pace it out, but it's about 230. This one's about 230 miles, and another one's about 300 miles, I think it is. But I'll have a look in a minute. I'll put it up and have a look. Can they make it in one day? The winds seem a bit odd from day to day. Yeah, they are. You've got to just follow the breeze. But as I say, the normal cruising boats, they have a big advantage because they've got a motor. And when you get that transition between the northerly and the southerly, there's this calm patch. There's a little triangle, which is calm. And that's where you hit your motor and you go for it to get through to the next one to get into port before you think. 580 can't do that, so that adds another level of challenge. But it's fine. If you get hit badly, you just got to turn around and go back. So you might have wasted 4 days. And that's how it works. Little boats can only do what they can do, but they stay safe. Which ports in South Africa can they pull into en route to Cape Town? Any ones they want, wherever they want. Some are recognised ports. They're easy to get in with breakwaters and so on, and others are a little hide behind a headland, depending on where the wind direction is. And there's not many, but there's enough. And so they'll be targeted at that, and they'll work it out. We've been to the Heads of Kisner years ago. I think there was calm seas either side of the heads, but I can imagine in rough, tougher conditions. Yep, they're going to be on their ball when they get around there, that's for sure. Adrian. Okay, all right. And here's a funny one for me. If I come back to, we sort of finished the tracker now and done all the bits. But if I put Windy on there, so you're on Windy, we're going to go out on this. I'm on Windy. I'm going to zip down here, come across here. I'm heading over here now. Oh, where are we? Here we go. Start bringing that up now. Where are we? This is now Tuesday. Look at this. This is really funny. Here's Hong Kong. I'm going to be in Hong Kong tomorrow afternoon, but UTC time, it's about here. So when we go here, there we go, Hong Kong. What do we got in here? Oh, we got 130 knots. 130, 140. There's 150 knots forecast in Hong Kong airport just before I arrive. And then I've got to try and get across the bridge to, across to Zhuhai. And so I'm going to have some fun. Anyway, so there won't be a tracker update tomorrow. There will be, won't be a tracker update tomorrow. And it might, because of this weather, it might not be the next day either. I'm not sure because I leave here tomorrow morning about an hour before I usually do the tracker. I might do it earlier or whatever. Anyway, so stay good, and I'll be travelling for a day and a bit to Hong Kong, China, and then we'll see what we do. Have a good day. See you later.